Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mikita Ilnitsky, and as a conference manager, I would like to use this message to welcome you at EAI Mobility Iot 2022. As we are here opening the 9th edition of the conference, it's justified to say that over the years, Mobility IoT has become a high-quality event. 2022 is the third year when the conference is taking place fully online. I would like to thank every member of the committee for being a part of the conference and for your involvement with the EAI. We are preparing 10th edition of the conference, and I would like to invite you all. Please follow the updates on the website. If you're interested in getting involved with the conference through a workshop, special session, or maybe as a TPC member, please contact me in the mail address below. In fact, do not hesitate to contact me with any questions, suggestions, or feedback you might have. Thank you for your attention and enjoy EAI Mobility IoT 2022.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 9th EAI International Conference on Mobility IoT and Smart Cities 2022. My name is Lucia Knapšíková, and together with my colleague Dr. Shakib Zorevandi and our organizing team, we would like to invite you to actively participate on the conference. The goal of the 9th International Conference on Mobility IoT and Smart Cities is to debate on and review the technologies and emerging innovations currently affecting the industry and connectivity sectors of the future, urban, sustainable and industrial evolution. The conference shall act as a platform for the union and harmony of various perspectives, concepts and themes regarding smart industrial innovations such as smart factories, new business models, intelligent urban transport system, career development, gender issues, as well as addressing the socio-economic trends and manufacturing sustainability with an action plan towards a climate-resilient future. The keynote speaker is Dr. Amar Odeh with his speech, A Novel Algorithm for Secure Medical Images from Princess Sumaya University for Technology, Jordan. The technical program of EAI Mobility IoT and Smart Cities 2022 consists of 15 full papers, including one invited speech. We have also the worldwide participation. Working with such an excellent organizing committee team was also a great pleasure for me. We are also grateful to conference EAI manager Mikita Ilnitsky for his support, all the authors who submitted their papers to the EAI Mobility IoT and Smart Cities 2022 conference, and reviewers for their hard work. Thank you so much once again, and enjoy the event.
Hello everyone, my name is Amar Odeh from Princess Sumaya University for Technology, Amman, Jordan. I'm Assistant Professor at the Department of Computer Science in King Hussein School of Computing Sciences. I'm so glad to be a keynote speaker for EAI Mobility IoT 2022, a 9th edition of EAI International Conference on Mobility. In this presentation, we will cover the medical image encryption importance, and the roadmap for today is abstract, introduction, security principles, medical image, DCOM format, HIPAA, and the proposed algorithm, and at the end, the conclusion. Among the most sensitive and important data in telemedicine system are medical images. It's necessary to use a robust encryption method that is resistant to cryptographic assaults while transferring medical image over the internet. Confidentiality is the most crucial of the three security goals for protecting information system, along with the availability, integrity, and complements. Encryption and watermarking of medical image addresses problems with the confidentiality and integrity in telemedicine applications. The need to prioritize security issues in telemedicine applications makes the choice of the trustworthy and efficient strategy or framework all the moral crucial. And we have numerous techniques are used in medical diagnosis, such as ultrasonography, magnetic resonance imaging, and positron emission tomography. So the diagnosis images undergo a wide range of operations, include feature extraction and feature selection, image denoising, segmentation, and they are massively stored and shared. Telemedicine uses information and communication networks to deliver clinical treatment to patients located far away. And this has been utilized to overcome distance and access limitation in rural locations lacking of clinical central services. So mainly we have two types of attack. The first one is the passive attack, and the second one is the active attack. And the security of organization system is a top concern in modern worlds. And the main objectives of any organization is to protect its data from hacker, attacker, and intruder. So we have three goals, as we mentioned before: the confidentiality, integrity, and the last one, availability. And to explain them briefly, the confidentiality means keeping information secret from unauthorized access, is probably the most aspects of information security. And we need to protect confidentiality information. An organization needs to guard against those malicious actions that endanger the confidentiality of its information. The second security principle is integrity. And information needs to be changed constantly. In a bank, when a customer deposits or withdraw money, the balance of their account needs to be changed. Integrity means the change should be done only by authorized user and through authorized mechanism. The last principle is availability. The third component of information security is availability. And the information created and stored by an organization needs to be available to authorized user and applications. Information is useless if it's not available. And information needs to be changed constantly, as we mentioned before, which means that it must be accessible to those authorized to access to it. Unavailability of information is just as harmful to an organization as a lack of confidentiality or integrity. Imagine what would happen to a bank if the customer could not access their account for transaction. So in our topic, we're going to talk about the medical image, not about the bank. So the medical image, such as the data that are exposed during its transmissions or storage to various attacks, such as unauthorized access, modification, or theft. Thus, it's possible to endanger the lives of patients with the wrong medical diagnosis that you assume by this way. The attacker just modify the medical image. That's meaning the doctors cannot give the right diagnosis for that medical image, or expose its privacy to disclosure. Therefore, the three security functions, confidentiality, integrity, and authenticity, must be provided for medical images. Many healthcare system workers still do not attach great importance to preserving patient privacy and the security of the patient data, as medical image may be sent insecure over insecure internet, which threatens the integrity of the data sent to threats and the privacy of the patient for disclosure. This may put patients at risk, whether in terms of health or even moral or social motivation. So the first format for the medical image is presented by DCOM, which is Digital Imaging and Communication in Medicine. And this standard was created in 1983 and passed through several stages. And it's finally published in 1993 to the global standard based on the use of the TCP/IP protocol, or the exchange of medical images by various storage media. And DCOM consists of three parts. The first one is the public attributes, and the second one is the private attributes and the image itself. So HIPAA, which is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, operated at 1999 or appeared in 1999. And in response to this, the standard added encryption options to protect data when it's transmitted over the internet. After that, work was done on encryption on a sensitive part of DCOM objects and not encrypt the entire DCOM object, which is one of the limitations of this standard in HIPAA. So the HIPAA just encrypts the sensitive part in DCOM objects, so the remaining part can be threatened by the attacker. So the proposed algorithm believe if we have a plain image and we generate a secret key by applying an encryption algorithm, we're gonna generate a cipher image, okay, which cannot be analysis from the attacker in the middle. So our algorithm will capture the image, then we will encrypt the entire of DCOM objects by using the initial operations. Then we will divide that object in 32 segments, and each segment consists of 32 bits. And that permutation and that objects or that segment will be XOR or exclusive OR with a specific key, which called KR. And then we will use SBox to permutate that object, and that process will be repeated more and more until the last segment, which is 31, by applying the linear transformation for each one of them. The last object, which kind of hashing to reduce XOR and the final operation. In the receiver side or the destination side, we will apply the hash to be sure the image is not changed, and we will apply the XOR for the last part to check that. If it passed, then we will go to the inverse function of the SBox and XOR operation for the remaining sets by applying the inverse of the linear transformation. And in the last part, we will apply the initial operation of the outputs. To conclude that, to evaluate our algorithm with the proposed algorithm, or with a previous algorithm, it's necessary to compare all of them with the different algorithms to encrypt the message or the medical image. That comparison will give us a criteria to evaluate our work. And most of the system proposed did not apply the hashing to sure that image is not changed and did not evaluate the accuracy of it. As a future work, we can work to use the blockchain technology to ensure that the arrival of medical images and their transmission over the internet and resend any damaged part. And this is the main difference, what we would like to do, without need to send all part of the image. In other words, if the 32 bits or the 32 segments, one of them is destroyed, then we just can send the missing part to the receiver. It's not acceptable to completely refuse or accept the medical image. This is not enough. It may endanger the life of patients if the doctor is not enabled to access the medical image quickly. Also, we can work to reduce most of the sensitive part of the algorithm, which is the time of encryption for better.
Hello, everyone. This is Zahra Honerman Shohazele, and today I'm gonna present a paper titled "Collaboration of an Established Company with Startups: A Funnel-Shaped Framework." Established companies are trying to identify innovation opportunities and launch new products faster in order to maintain and expand their competitive advantage. Most corporations struggle to design the process of collaboration with the startups and find a tailored collaboration process. Furthermore, academic research on corporate startup collaboration is fragmented with competing frameworks and typologies. So our research question here are, what are the influential constructs of the collaboration? And how should the process of collaboration with the startups be designed? Our research novelty and contributions are it explicitly addresses the phenomenon of collaboration between established companies and startups from the perspective of the corporation. It is a visual representation of how to design the process of collaboration with the startups. Our paper enriches the literature on corporation startup engagement by organizing and integrating peer literature and harmonizing competing approaches. Also, we will introduce a coherent and reconciled funnel-shaped framework which scholars can use as a ground for producing hypotheses and generalizable findings. About our research methods, reviewing the literature regarding the collaboration of a large company with startups help to gain a deep understanding and vision about this topic. Therefore, the literature has been systematically reviewed in this study by using www.scopus.com database. Then the findings of this literature review are categorized. The search for corresponding sources was conducted in English language. 3 key phases were searched, including a startup and company collaboration, startup and company partnership, and startup and company engagement. All the results published before August 2022 were subject to our analysis. After searching, first the abstracts were read, and then, if deemed appropriate, the whole paper would have been studied. A total of 298 sources were found, while 93 abstracts were reviewed, and finally, 42 papers were completely studied. Our funnel-shaped framework has two parts. The first part is dimensions, including 2 items: established company, the startup, the collaboration process. And second part is the construct, including we have 7 constructs in our paper, including innovation strategies and goals of the established company, innovation portfolio of the established company, the maturity level of the corporate venturing, the needs and expectation of a startup, the life cycle stages of a startup, the proposed value of a collaboration mechanism, and finally, cost and required resources for the collaboration. We have 3 dimensions for our framework. The first dimension is established company. Here, the established company is a company with a well-defined business model that can work in industry. The second dimension is a startup, because it's the startup and not the big companies that come with big new thing to create an unconditional market space and change the whole industry. And the third dimension is the collaboration. Collaboration between 2 entities can be regarded as an alliance that can have various levels. The first construct in our paper is innovation strategies and goals of the established company. According to a study that has been done, 80% of companies state that innovating is important for them, but only half of them had a well-defined strategy, which is a big problem. Strategic goals and financial goals are the 2 main types of innovation goals. In various sources, the goal of big companies for partnership with the startups have been listed, such as focusing on generating benefits for the company, enhancing the image and culture of the company, the ecosystem developments, and testing and tapping into new business areas. The second construct here is the innovation portfolio of the established company. One reason for a startup to choose a company for partnership over others is that the company's portfolio is close to its own portfolio. The primary types of innovation are core, adjacent, and transformational. According to their study, it is recommended that companies should dedicate 70% of their resources to core innovations, 20% to adjacent innovation, and 10% to transformational innovation. A balanced innovation portfolio means that a correct, proper mixture of investment on gradual, radical, and breakthrough innovation must be existent in all areas of innovation portfolio. The third construct is the maturity level of the corporate venturing. The corporate venturing covers all the tools and mechanisms for cooperating with startups. Companies can use them according to the situation, strategy, or even the speed of innovation in their industry. It has 3 dimensions: focus of corporate venturing, degree of arbitration in the corporate venturing process, and explorative or exploitative orientation. Other aspects of corporate venturing are profitability, waiting duration for observing the effects of mechanism on the outcome of the company, intensity of capital spending, engagement and participation level, and the stage of innovation phase which is being protected in each collaboration mechanism. The three maturity levels of corporate venturing units are the building stage, the scaling stage, and the consolidating stage. The fourth construct is the needs and expectations of startups. Corporate and startups may differ in their expectations, demands, beliefs, and cultures. Some startups have had negative experiences about the corporate collaboration programs which were not aligned with their expectations. The large firms, in order to avoid mistakes, must design collaboration programs with startups in their mind. The interest of startups incorporating in the literature is convergence. And according to Kobler study, some example of these expectations are getting access to resources, increasing the credit, getting access to market, and receiving budget. The fifth construct in our paper is the life cycle stage of startups. Startups are essentially varied and complex, yet they have their own life cycle. Different researchers have studied the evolutionary patterns of startups and detected different stages of revolution for startups. The stage of life cycle presents the technological readiness level of startups MPV. The lower the TRL of a startup is, the higher its uncertainty and risk are for the company. A startup can have various investors in each stage as well. The investors of seed and cultivation of idea stage, the angels, the investors, and the venture capitals are some of them. The sixth construct is the proposed value of a collaboration mechanism. The most used collaboration methods are corporate accelerators, corporate incubators, and venture capital. There are also non-equity models. Non-equity models are the mechanism in which the established company doesn't take equity from the startups. Examples of non-equity models are co-creation, co-location, platforms, startup programs, day-long events, technology hub, co-working space, scouting mission. Finally, the seventh construct in our paper is cost and required resources for collaboration. Cost, required resources, and duration for each collaboration mechanism is different. The value proposed in each collaboration mechanism is different. Each mechanism has a different cost and resource based on a variety of factors, such as the values proposed to a startup and the average duration of the mechanism. The costs required for different mechanisms from the lowest to highest are resource sharing, challenging prices, hackathons, scouting mission, excavators, venture client, strategic partnership, incubators, accelerators, corporate venturing capital, and merger and acquisition. This figure presents our funnel-shaped framework. It has 4 steps, and we categorize the constructs according to dimensions of our framework. The 3 dimensions are, in the first part, established company, in the second part is startups, and in the third part is collaboration. According to our funnel shape framework, four steps should respectively be taken by the established company to collaborate with startups as follows: defining and determining the related constructs of established company, including innovation objectives and strategic innovation portfolio, and the level of corporate venturing maturity. This step will help the big company to define in details its innovation goals, demands, research fields, their properties, and their required time for observing the result. The second step is defining and determining the related constructs of the startups, including expectation and demands of a startup and the stage of startup life cycle. This step will help the established company to get to know the startup's expectation, their demands, ideas, MPVs, and their TRLs. The third step is defining and determining the related constructs of the collaboration, including proposed values in each collaboration mechanism and required expenses and resources for each mechanism. This step will help the company to have an insight regarding the required budget, resources, and time to collaborate with startups. The fourth step for collaboration is designing a tailored collaboration process. There is a need to develop a portfolio of corporate startup collaboration initiatives, each of which may necessitate a different setup. This step will help the established company to match its innovation demands, goals, and resources in line with the startup's expectations, their lifestyle stage, and TRLs, and help to design its effective collaboration mechanisms and prepare required procedure and work instructions. This was my presentation, and thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.
Greetings to all, the organizers of this conference, all co-authors, and all participants involved. It's an honor for me to be able to present my research here at the EAI Mobility Iot 2022, 9th EAI International Conference on Mobility, IoT, and Smart Cities. Allow me, Refki Firdaus Majid, to present my research entitled Utilization of Jakarta Kini application to support smart economy implementation in DKI Jakarta. In general, this paper is divided into several sections, namely introductions, method, result and discussion, conclusions, and the last one is references. Introduction. There are several reasons behind conducting this research. The first one is the fact that Indonesia is currently facing digital economic transformation, which, according to Setiawati 2019, is expected to reach 10% of GDP in 2025 if it succeeds in overcoming the problem of minimal technology penetration. Second, this optimization must be carried out across sectors, and participation should be expanded to achieve this optimization. And the third one here is digital sector projection. There's a forecast that there will be four sectors that will grow rapidly. Here stated by the Minister of National Development Planning for PPN, reports that four digital sectors are projected to grow rapidly are the first one is financial technology, second one is e-commerce, on-demand services, and also Internet of Things. But what I want to highlight here, there are fintechs and also e-commerce. These three facts then develop linearly with the development of the smart economy as one of the dimensions of the smart city. These aspects then boil down to the urgency needed, namely the need for an integrated system. The 2021-2024 roadmap issuance marked this to prepare Indonesia to become a digital nation. There are two problem formulations are as attached. The first one is what are the forms of smart economy based services that are integrated into the Jaki application. Second one is how does the Jaki application affect the implementation of the smart economy in the province of DKI Jakarta. And the two objectives are to identify the types of services and analyze the utilization of Jaki application in implementing the smart economy. In general, each district or city in Indonesia has its own applications to support smart city development. In this case, DKI Jakarta, through Jakarta Smart City Regional Public Service Agency, launched a public service application under the DKI Jakarta provincial government. Jakarta Smart City implements the public service function in the smart city aspect through several indicators to measure the growth and development of the smart economy dimensions. So I set the research location in this study to cover the province of DKI Jakarta because my object of my research was in Jaki application and it was intended to the people of Jakarta. Method. The following is the flow of my research method. This research is a qualitative research with secondary data sourced from statistical data, Jakarta Smart City as an application developer, uh, its planning documents, including the provincial government documents, the Jakarta Communication Information Service documents, as well as a Google Data Analytic tools. Meanwhile, the primary data comes from observations and in-depth interviews, which I previously assessed by conducting purposive sampling and then growing through a snowball sampling based on informants' recommendations. And I got 10 informants from different work units, and they were collected here. The results of the interviews were then verbatim, reduced, and triangulated to make descriptive analysis. Result and discussion. The following are the results of my research regarding Jaki application description. Jaki is an information service center application under the Jakarta Smart City. The Jakarta Smart City has become a regional public service agency since 2022. So since it become the regional public service, their programs have been compiled into five activities. Here attached is the first one is information dissemination, program research and development, management of public opinion responses, system development, and also infrastructure development. And also to run these five activities, there are like seven divisions. The first one is data analysis division, product development and analysis division, product and service operational division, communication division, data center and network division, marketing, and also the product service development division. The last three here is really related to the Jaki application since it has something to do with the form, the application, and in case there's a lot of updates, so they are in charge of that. All the type of services here, both in function and form, are made based on the directions or referring to the KST or the regional strategic performance. Next, I will discuss the use of the Jaki application services. Until June 2022, the number of Jaki applications users who have downloaded through the App Store or Play Store for the iOS and the Android has almost reached almost 4.5 million users. And this is then compared with the percentage comparison between the total users and the current users in the following feature. The total users is accumulated numbers of users that the Jockey application has January 2019, so it has been there since the form of the applications. And in addition, current users is the total accumulation of the old and the new users detected by the Google Analytics system. It can be identified that among users of the Android operating system, it has decreased with the amount of difference between total users and current users being as many as 67,840 users. This means that as many as that, almost like 68 thousands people have installed the applications at reducing the users. This also influenced by the decreasing spread and impact generated by the COVID-19 in 2022, considering the fact that one of the most widely used services in the Jaki applications is related to the handling of COVID-19, which is integrated into Jakarta response to COVID-19. The following is the Google Analytic data for the number check applications here. On the right side, there are like four types of services available and integrated in the check application version 1.1.29, which has its own interface. Referring to the Communications and Informatics Service Decision number 14, there are four types of integrations uh, used in Jaki application. The first one is launcher. So the launcher in the Jaki application is generally used to promote certain services or services provided by the partners who are, Jakarta Smart Cities partners, both from government, local government agencies, or related agencies to private companies. And then here we have the API or application programming interface. The API work system is carried out by sending access from Jaki to the intended application or website and then sending a request to the relevant server. The server then responds to the API and the API sends the response to the Jaki application. So it all goes around forth back and forth. And then better adds the mechanism of branding or promoting a promotion is carried out by the collaboration affiliated by the GSJ or Jakarta Smart City and the Jaki application, for example, local government agencies and affiliate agencies. And the last one is WebView. The WebView in the Jaki application is used to direct the services and the applications to the destination websites. The implementation of smart economy in Jakarta Kini application. So, in sorting out the smart economy indicators, I refer to the DKI Jakarta plan for 2017 till 2022, namely that there are four objectives for developing the smart economy dimension. The first one is utilization of commerce through the collaboration to build Jakarta. The second one is job creation through Jakpreneur and Jaknaker. The third one is one-stop payment integration through Jak1 Mobile and also Jak1 Pay. The fourth one and the last one is food security through Jakpangan. For the utilization of e-commerce, there are 11 services that are incorporated in the collaboration to build Jakarta, and there are 6 services within it that are engaged in the smart economy with the type of integrations in the form of a launcher. So if this launcher is used to launch applications in Jaki, it will automatically be launched towards the relevant applications or authentication related to the application launching. For example, there are Gojek, Shopee, etc. And here with the collaboration to build Jakarta is one of the integration services in the Jaki application. The service is integrated using launcher system. As for now, as you can see here on the figure, this includes several large e-commerce or marketplaces in Indonesia, including Tokopedia, Bukalapak, Shopee, Gojek, Grab, and as one of the collaborators in these integrations, Jaki collaborations with the major e-commerce is the form of collaboration which is in line with the spirit of collaboration, sort of like their jargon, which is carried out as one of the Jaki slogans or jargons. So it can be said that the applications integrated with within Jackie can be categorized as a part of Jackie. However, until now, Jackie has not provided the type of integration that allows the sale and purchase seem to occur with the e-commerce marketplace corporation. So basically, you can't pay anything with Jackie now because they haven't created that yet up until now. One of the goals of attracting large e-commerce companies to attract a large market of e-commerce users to the Jackie application. So this sort of like their trick. So once they are collaborating with the large e-commerce, they're also attracting a large market of e-commerce users to the Jackie applications. This is in line with one of the visions of Jackie Super App to become all-in-one integrative application by reaching applications that have a large user intensity, especially in the Jakarta area. Apart from that, other applications are also included here. For example, you can see down here, there's like Netflix, to HP, Save Jakarta, Sekolahmu Molekul, and to Google Maps. The type of integration together with large e-commerce have an objective goal of digitalization and digital economic growth in the community, especially for business actors in DKI Jakarta, ranging from SMEs to MSMEs. The form of cooperation carried out tend to be diverse, ranging from training, mentoring, to provide easy access to pay for entrance tickets to tourist destinations. This, of course, cannot be separated from the cooperation of third parties with related agencies and local government agencies. However, these activities cannot be categorized as permanent activities. As you can see, there's a lot of e-commerce here, but um, so far, the Jockey application only offers a launcher integration type of for the users to directly access the landing page of destination e-commerce integrated into the services. So we basically can only see the logos on the application, and then once you click the application, it will automatically launch the application. It's sort of like that. The developer, in this case, hopes to innovate so that full integration can be carried out so that the efficient use of applications according to the super app function can be implemented in the future, or, in other words, can be perfectly integrated. Furthermore, here at the job creation will be divided into two. The first one is job planner, and the second one is job knocker. As of October's as of June 2022, it has been have been attended by almost like 317,000 entrepreneurs, as and Jobpreneurs is integrated with using WebView. And Jackpreneur Services, which is integrated into Jack application, offers several facilities that are divided into several stage, including, as you can see here, like training, assistant, licensing, marketing, and financial reporting and capital facilities. Jackpreneur is currently still the form with you, as you can see. In the future, it is hoped that there will be an initiation to integrate users with single logins. Single logins allows users to log in once for two integrated applications. For example, if you want to use Jockey, you can basically use Jackpreneur at the same time. So you have to like log in just for once. Then that's called as the single login. Meanwhile, there are Jacknacker functions. Jacknacker functions as job portal for the Kai Jakarta residents. Now, this tends to be very new to Jackie. It's been around like 4 months, 5 months. And Jackie here functions as the third party to link advertisement banner ads to the Jacknacker portal. Unlike Jackpreneur, the previously Jackpreneur service, which already has its own integration segment, Jacknacker is currently only integrated with Jackie through banner ads in the Jackie application, which is relatively new and still being developed. This is also influenced because Jackpreneur itself has become its own application, or native as we call it, as one of the answers to the DKI Jakarta provincial government in responding to the problem of unemployment and high poverty rate in DKI Jakarta, as well as regional strategic activity, which is in the form of standardizations improvement. Therefore, these two services, both Jakwana and Jaknaker, are integrated into Jaki application as form of support from the DK Jakarta provincial government in implementing the dimensions of the smart economy, and which is job creation and collaboration integration promoted by Jakarta Smart City. Here is the one-stop payment integration. One-stop payment integration was formulated starting from the provincial government's concern for implementing the Casa Society together with Bank DKI Jakarta Bank, then make various innovations until the latest NTAP in Jaki is Jak1 Mobile and Jak1 Pay. This is a bit unique because Jak1 Mobile it is own application that is integrated with the launcher, while Japan Pay curious for non-cash payment integrated to the API. So there's actually like two type of integrations here, which is launcher and the API. And then the last one is Jakpangan. The function of Jakpangan is to facilitate and respond to concerns from the DKI provincial government regarding the food security by utilizing the technology to transfer the data using the API and create the interface on the Jaki application. This is done to provide the up-to-date commodity and market information. Conclusion. The following are the conclusion in the study. Jackie is oriented towards integration, community orientation, and one-stop service. In fact, there are four values held in development of Jackie. The first one is mobile first, integration, citizen-oriented, and also one-stop services. There are five smart economy services, namely through the collaboration to build Jakarta, Jakpreneur, Jaknaker, and also uh, Jakpangan. Utilization of the core point is on the type of integration and related stakeholders, and the fastest growing so far is Jakpreneur, which is focuses on developing the entrepreneurial sector. Attached is the list of references that I use as a reference in preparing this research. Thank you for your consideration.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all over the world. My name is Miriam Nikolanska, and I am a PhD student at the University of Žilina in Middle Eastern Slovakia. Today it is my pleasure, along with my co-authors, Mr. Michal Holubčík and Professor Jozef Jandačka, to present to you the topic of our presentation, construction and experimental testing of innovative wireless emission monitoring system in small household of a smart city. We are proud to take part in the European Alliance on Innovation, the 9th EAI International Conference on Mobility, with the topic of IoT and a Smart City. We are delighted to contribute to the emerging innovations by taking part in this conference in the year 2022. Today's presentation will cover 5 main points. starting with a brief introduction about emissions and air quality in general, following with description of wireless monitoring systems. I will later continue with the two prototypes that were designed, built, following with their experimental testing and presenting our results. So let's begin. The temperature of the Earth is rising and rising with each passing year. The average temperature has increased by almost 1.5 degrees Celsius in comparison with the pre-industrial era, as seen in the animation. It is really necessary to act and find a smart, environmental, and a cost-effective solution to this problem. As we can see, the emission production was dominated at first by the USA, Russia, and Germany. However, after the second half of the 20th century, almost all countries of the world have become significant contributors of emission and air pollution. Emissions have both negative impact on health and global warming. The GWP, or global warming potential, determines the impactfulness of individual emission substances in comparison with CO2 gas. 1 gram of emitted methane, CH4, has the same impact on global warming as 25 grams of CO2. Nitrous oxides, however, have 273 times larger impact on global warming than CO2 counterparts. These molecules also stay significantly longer in the ozone layer, which is a problem. This difference can be better visualized with these bubbles. The size represents the amount of influence the substances have on the ozone layer. Decreased air quality has also a large impact on our health. The graph you see represents the amount of premature health issues from 2005 until 2019 in the European Union. The substance in consideration is PM2.5, which represents dust particles that are smaller than 2.5 microns in diameter. What can be done to improve the situation? Well, this question drove us to make a step forward in modernizing monitoring systems of emissions. Our main focus was to develop something to enable any person, experts for instance, to monitor the air quality and the quality of fuel burn among houses without the need to rely on technicians in person, which can get very expensive and infrequent. We came with the idea to develop a new wireless monitoring system, and right now I am going to show you our progress we made. In short, our wireless monitoring system, WMS for short, consists of devices that measure data around the smart city. The devices are safely connected via sampling tubes to the chimneys. Flue gases enter the device, sensors measure the concentration, and the acquired data is wirelessly sent to any smart device. By using different colors, as seen on the tablet above, we can indicate the air quality and the air contamination of the entire city on a specialized emission map. Here we see the green color indicating low level of pollution. The following user may be burning fuel with the incorrect setting of the boiler, which causes the smoke to be darker and produce more emissions indicated in a red color. In cases of extreme misuse of old and non-calibrated heating devices burning moist fuel, this can lead to very dark smoke and extreme levels of contamination. This is indicated in a black color. The market of microelectronics of today offer many solutions to ways of cost-effective measurements of emissions. Here you can see the two different types of sensors, specifically gas sensors and dust sensors. The most popular sensors are presented on this slide, just to say that a CO2 sensor, specifically MQ7, costs only €3 on the market. So how do these sensors work? For the sake of saving time, I will only present how the dust sensor functions. The device has an infrared LED laser and a photosensitive layer along with 5-volt power source and ground. The bin width of this specific sensor is only 10 milliseconds. When larger smoke or dust is present in the environment around the sensor, the portion of the lasers are blocked, decreasing the voltage measured by the photosensor. And the data must be collected into a cloud interface. The platform, called ThinkSpeak, allows any user to build such plots and graphs that are updated in real time every 15 seconds. On the picture, you can see the model of the first prototype that was intended to be built from transparent material, that it would be possible to see through the device. Also, this prototype was built to evaluate the ambient air quality in indoor temperatures, meaning maximum temperature of approximately 70 degrees Celsius. To achieve this, the most suitable material was chosen to be the PMMA, in short for polymetal methacrylate. You can see the ventilator that helps the air to flow inside the device. Then the sensors measure the concentration of emissions in the back. There is the electronic chamber, which is the heart of the device, including the microcomputer and Arduino, and also, of course, batteries. Here is a detail of the electronic chamber. As you can see, cables everywhere. Somewhere in behind are batteries that power the microcomputer Arduino. On this picture has a detail of the sensor chamber, where you can see the VOC, CO, CO2, and dust particle sensor. And the last picture shows the entire prototype as it was used in experimental testing. The picture shows the prototype without the top plate that is later connected via 4 screws into the metal beams. When thinking about analyzing flue gases produced by actual heating devices, the goal was to make a device that will withstand high temperatures, often over 200 degrees Celsius. Therefore, the material for the second prototype was chosen to be heat-resistant steel. On a model shown in the picture, you can also see a ventilator on the bottom. The second ventilation was meant for proper cooling to ensure that the temperature of the sensors do not exceed 35 degrees Celsius, as well as preventing electric damage. Here you can see the real thing. The construction was welded together, and the structure of the prototype is almost the same as the PMMA prototype, with one additional chamber intended for cooling. And this leads me to a brief description of our experimental setup that we used with both prototypes. We conducted 3 experiments. The first experiment was intended to evaluate the basic functioning of the individual emission sensors. The second experiment was designed to demonstrate the functionality of all the electronic parts and how they cooperate with each other and with the telecommunication module and batteries. And the last experiment was aimed to demonstrate if the device is able to cool down the flue gases before entering the sensor chamber, and also to achieve true wireless measurement of flue gases from a chimney into the IoT cloud interface. We consider the first experiment as successful, as the dust, carbon monoxide, and carbon dioxide worked very well, as seen here in the picture. The CO sensor clearly indicated a large increase in concentration when exposed to flue gases from external emission source. In this case, it was a simple lit candle. The second experiment with the PMMA prototype was designed to demonstrate how the device is able to produce a negative pressure in order to force the smoke inside the device. If you look closely, you can see the smoke being pulled into the device. The right diagram shows the increase of volatile organic compounds, in a short VOC, and a carbon monoxide. I personally found the last experiment most exciting since I was testing the steel prototype in my hometown on the roof of our garage, where we have a small stove and a 4-meter tall chimney. As you can see in the pictures, the setting was designed so that the sampling probe was placed in the middle of the exit of the chimney. We used 2 thermocouples. One thermocouple was placed directly in the chimney exhaust, while the second one monitored the temperature inside the sensor part. The second thermocouple measured an average temperature of around 110 degrees Celsius, while the first one, placed in a device, showed values of around 30 degrees Celsius. The conclusion of this experiment was that the flue gases cool down before entering the device, and the sensor successfully measured the huge increased production of emissions by burning incorrect fuel. We also consider this as a large success. The diagram shows how the experiment went while burning different prepared fuel, specifically dry wood, combination of wood and paper, and lastly wet grass, which is considered as a really inappropriate fuel. We can see, and the diagram clearly shows how incorrectly dried fuel increases flue gases. Results are that the device wirelessly sends this data to the IoT platform, showing how the sensors work properly. And if we talk about future plans, we would like to dive deeper into numerical simulations, and we will try to use this to our advantage, comparing various construction possibilities and the implementation of active emission reduction technologies, for instance, the electrostatic precipitator. This is one of our future goals at the University of Žilina that we would like to achieve. With the hope of seeing a smart city in the near future, I wish you a pleasant rest of the day and wish you all the best at the conference.
Hello everyone, I'm Shakib Zohravandi, PhD graduate in Industrial Engineering. It is my pleasure to present my research to you. My research area is based on modeling and optimization in project and construction management, project planning and scheduling, and project time optimization. I graduated with a PhD degree from the Science and Research branch, Azad University, Tehran, Iran. Also, I have collaborated as a researcher with the Department of New Technology, Center for European Study, Khwarazmi University, Tehran, Iran. I have been awarded a 10-month scholarship in the framework of the National Scholarship Program of the Slovak Republic. Therefore, currently, I'm working as a research scientist at the Faculty of Manufacturing and Technology, Technical University of Košice, Slovakia. What I would like to present to you today is optimizing the resource mobility, transportation, and networking in the project construction industry using a fractal method. As you are aware, research in the field of project management is increasing day by day due to its great impact on the economy. The following numbers show this aspect. In 2012, in the United Kingdom, the construction industry contributed 83 billion euros to economic output with around 2 million jobs. Also, in 2014, in the United States, this sector contributed $716 million to the gross domestic product with around 6 million jobs. The construction project management problem comes from practice, but must be analyzed and solved using scientific methods and tools. Optimization offers a framework for solving the problem. Due to the fact the schedules are not always optimal, and the projects will not always be completed in due time. Therefore, an optimization approach based on project resource planning can often be used. When the number of construction projects of a construction company in a region increases, choosing a finishing strategy to provide resources and raw materials in profit and loss and finishing the work according to the schedule becomes very important. When the projects are in different geographical areas, the way to provide the resources needed by the projects will play a key role in the timely completion of the project and the profitability of the project and the economy. In this study, a new mathematical model is presented using the fractal method to optimize the resource planning system in project-oriented construction and industrial companies, and the results are analyzed. The purpose of this research is to introduce a fractal resource requirement planning model in project-oriented construction and industrial companies by providing a fractal conceptual framework based on inventory management to minimize resource costs and materials between projects to meet the existing demand. Assuming three levels of headquarters, regions, and projects, each of them in the collection is self-similar structure defined as a fractal. This study was carried out in one of the contracting companies in the industrial and construction fields. The finding of this research shows the proposed model could be used and implemented for resource management in project-oriented construction companies. In this research, literature review has been done extensively. For example, Warnick in 1993 used a fractal method to optimize the supply chain network to increase the speed and reduces the cost of the entire network in manufacturing industries. And Louis and Wine in 2007 presented a flexible model for resolving linear scheduling problems involving different objectives and resource assigning tasks. Uh, in addition, Cheng et al. In 2013 developed resource management model using the information constraint net to simulate and optimize resource allocation in the design process. According to the literature review has been done in this research, it was found that little research has been done about the use of fractal methods in the resource management of companies and factories. The research question of this study is, can the fractal model presented in this research be used and implemented for resource management in project-oriented construction companies? In this research, resources include human resources, materials and machinery, and workshop equipment. Assuming three levels of headquarters, regions, and projects, each member in the collection is a self-similar structure defined as a fractal. Figure 1 illustrates the first layer, means the headquarters of the proposed model. As you can see, Figure 2 shows the second layer, the set of activities areas of the proposed model. And Figure 3 demonstrates the third layer, means the collection of projects of the region of the proposed model. Each project can use the resources available in neighboring projects in the same region. As Figure 3 shows, projects can use the company's headquarters or regions to provide their resources. Figure 4 shows the conceptual model of the proposed research. This conceptual model demonstrates the relations between layer 1, 2, and 3. The central headquarters and the regions are the distributors of resources, and the projects use the resources. The input and output are similar in the three layers mentioned. If optimization is done in each layer by each member of the network, with the existence of a dedicated network among the members of each layer in the entire company, it is possible to optimize the entire network. In this research, to model the research problem based on the conceptual model, the mathematical problem of inventory management has been developed based on the fractal system for purpose of minimizing the cost of transportation and movement of resources. The studied company is one of the largest contracting companies in the field of construction in the country. The projects of this company are in different geographical areas, and the way of providing the resources needed for the projects plays an essential role in the timely completion of the project and the profitability of the project and the company. Based on this, different solutions are usually considered to provide the resources needed by the projects according to the number and size of the projects. Figure 5 shows the location of existing projects. Also, Figure 6 shows the location of projects using Google Earth software. Due to the extent of projects in the whole country, for better management of projects, the division has been done based on geography to follow up and provide resources and materials needed for projects, as well as quick and effective communication with employers. Figure 7 shows the geographical division of existing projects into regions. To evaluate the proposed model, it was coded and run by GAMS software, and the project information has been used as the input of this mathematical model. In Table 1, transferred values means from machine types 1 and project between and subfractals are shown. Table 2 shows the transferred values means material type 1 between projects and subfractals. Also, Table 3 shows the transferred values means manpower type 1 between projects and subfractals. The above tables shows the results obtained from placing the information of the projects as the input of the proposed model, and finally it's run by GAMS software. These results illustrate that the introduced model is applicable as a case study in real construction projects and industries. In this research, the traditional concept of resource planning was changed. The headquarters manage the resource inventory of the regions, and the regions manage the resource inventory of the projects. Also, the possibility of supplying between group members in the same category to avoid delays and ensure the smooth flow of resource considered. Due to the research question, after analyzing end results, it is specified that the proposed model could be used and implemented for resource management in project-oriented construction companies. The proposed model could be interested in academic, researchers, scholars, and anyone who is involved in projects. As future studies, the proposed model could be implemented in real projects. And these are the references we have used in this research. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lucia Knapčíková and I would like to introduce you our paper with the title Smart Approaches by Online Monitoring in Transportation. Current trends in the transport industry in the area of computerization and digitalization are the use of intelligent sensors for the control of wagons, control of railway lines, and automatic control of trains. Emerging solutions seek to combine biometric information, artificial intelligence, and cloud computing. For train operators and railway companies, Internet of Things devices enable the implementation of a predictive maintenance to monitor any anomalies. The support for developing intelligent systems and their complex solution is based on the information communication systems and technologies in the transport. It is oriented towards the use of unified system environment for the collection, processing, sharing, distribution, and use of traffic information in specific information and control applications. The paper deals with the possibilities of online control and the use of intelligent sensors in the measurement and the control of various load, bearing, and driver rotating chassis. The current trends in the construction of chassis are characterized by two directions that are interconnected. The welded frame is checked for the quality of the welds and its required dimensions are verified. Subsequently, is undergoes surface treatments. The complete brake is mounted on the surface treated frame. At the end, the completely unfolded chassis frame with the brake is placed onto the completed wheels with the bearing, chamber, and exit bearings. The application of the online support system aims not only to increase safety, but also the increase of cost of repair of related components of the rail wagons, generating real-time information on the elements of the undercarriage of freight rail cars which carry a high risk of damage during operation will create ideal conditions for increasing the safety of their process. The application of sustainable technology can provide a solution for improving the quality of process of railroad wagons. Online monitoring is of great importance in the practical use as it reduces the influence of the human factor acting in connection with technical inspections of railway wagons. Determining risk factors and their subsequent evaluation will provide information and thereby reduce rate of phenomena associated with the poor technical conditions of freight rail wagons. Important task in the diagnostic of the technical conditions of wagons is the pressure measurement of the rotating chassis. It serves to measure and check various types of load bearing and driving buoys. With the device, we can detect the size of the load force, parallelism of axles, functionality and thickness of the sensors, functionality of brake cylinders, chassis height, pressure forces acting on the wheels. After completing all cycles of the loading process with a pressure force of 50 kN, we pressurize the sensor through the inlet pipe to value of 5 plus minus 0.2 bar. After reaching this value, the pressure force of the chassis is gradually reduced to zero, like an empty wagon. At the moment of zero compressive force, the program automatically records the amount of pressure in the load sensor. After the load test, the following errors may occur: incorrect chassis height, non-functionality load sensors, the height between the bearing housing and the chassis frames affect the overall height of the chassis. From a business perspective, data can be considered a factor of the production of raw materials to be processed and refined to create added value. For this purpose, of three moments of data essential. It is necessary to realize that information flows in transport arise between all subjects, between producers, suppliers, carriers, recipients, and customers. At the same time, the information system cannot be considered as a separate and isolated system, but the solution needs to be integrated into the entire transportation system. In the field of the transport and logistics, information system must offer the possibility of maximum automation of routine activities and increase in the efficiency of operations. Thank you so much for your attention, and I would like to wish you very nice even today.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning all. I am Juraj Horka from Technical University of Košice Faculty of Aeronautics. I'm going to present my research paper, Opportunities for the Use of Biometric Technology in Air Transport. I would like to thank the organizer and all the sponsors to provide me with this opportunity to present my paper. Biometric identification is one of the most widespread elements in the development of modern airports. Airlines and airports around the world are actively working toward its introduction. Currently, the use of biometrics can be seen in several industries. For example, the use of gait recognition technology by security forces is becoming widespread, allowing individuals to be identified through their body shape and the way they move. As the aviation industry grows, so does the security threats. And the concerns are very well founded. The pandemic has brought about the need for the contactless passenger transfer through the airports. Contactless scanners provide faster passengers clearance through airports check-ins. Since 19th century, biometric technology, especially fingerprints, has been used by criminalistics. And since the end of the last century, the technology has developed. It has been possible to formalize algorithms for recognizing people by their appearance or behavior and to use automated systems to do so. An electronic device or system can detect and record a person's unique physical and other characteristics to confirm their identity through biometrics. Biometrics can be used to identify individuals by analyzing body parts such as face, fingerprints, or iris of the eye. Biometric technology and are systems or applications that are designed to use biometric data derived from biometric identifiers. A biometric system is an automated process that collects or captures biometric data through the biometric identification device, such as fingerprints or palm vein patterns scanner or camera, to collect facial or iris images. Compares the scans data from those captured for comparison, compares the submitted samples with the templates, determines or verify that the identity of the biometrics data holder is authentic. Biometric identifiers only work well if the operator can check two things. First, that biometric data was received from a specific person during the check, and the second, that this data matches the sample stored in the card file. Physiological biometrics is based on classification of a person according to data collected as a part of the human body, such as fingerprints, face, or iris. Physiological characteristics are relatively stable. Face, fingerprints, hand silhouette, iris pattern, blood vessels, retinal patterns, or DNA, those biometrics are essentially permanent and do not change over the time. On the other hand, behavioral data are more susceptible to change depending on factors such as aging, injury, or even mood. Facial recognition offers a wide range of security benefits that can improve various aspects in air travel. Facial recognition can also be used to protect passengers and make air travel safer than ever before. However, facial recognition can automatically identify when a person of interest enters the airport, and the system will not be fooled by the change of its appearance. One of the growing concerns in aviation is internal threats. These threats can range from the theft of passenger baggage to threats that pose the risk to public safety. Airport police can also use mobile application to instantly identify suspects in virtually any part of the airport. Baggage theft is unfortunately a common occurrence at the airports. Using biometric technology can help prevent that. Article proposed a suitable solution for identifying person using biometric and artificial intelligence at the Milan Rastislav Stefanik International Airport in Bratislava. Main reason for implementing this solution is to simplify and speed up the passenger handling process, such as checking, security checks, passport control, baggage handling, or even access to restricted areas at the airport. The main reason, new passengers identification technology will contribute to the more enjoyable overall air travel experience and enhance security at the airports. Based on the available application used in foreign airports today and the similarities between airports, it is appropriate to consider the introduction of facial biometrics for faster passenger processing and reducing dwell time in critical areas. Online checking has become the checks for many airlines in today's digital age. Using an online application or website allows passengers to check in for scheduled flight from the comfort of their homes without standing in the long queues at the airport. In the case of online check-ins, the use of facial biometrics is recommended as an ideal solution. There is no need to wait in line again if the passenger has used online check-ins. System automatically generates labels to mark the luggage, and the passenger hands it over to the check-in belt. This step completes the check-in process. Systems that automatically identify travelers at security checks will speed up the identification process and will reduce overall security checks time. Airports increasingly use facial biometrics identification to identify foreigners on flights because of its high efficiency rate. For airlines, airports, and other commercial aviation stakeholders, the use facial recognition biometrics effectively, proactively measures should be taken. Most passengers will enjoy a more efficient and enjoyable travel experience with the facial biometrics. Key focus of the biometric technology project is to implement technology at the selected Milan Rastislav Stefanik International Airport in Bratislava. Thank you for listening to my presentation.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to present you on the 9th EAI International Conference on Mobility, IoT and Smart City, the article with the title A New Trend in Car Personalization Based on Augmented Reality. My name is Josef Husar and my co-author Stella Hrehova, Lucia Knapčíková. We are from Technical University of Košice, and our the last co-author is Justina Trojanovská from Poznań University of Technology. At the beginning, we will say something about new trend, and it is augmented reality. Augmented reality can create an immersive experience where we can see, hear, and feel digital content that is just hidden from the our physical world. With the help of augmented reality, we can push the boundaries and reality to the very peak of experiences that can absorb us with the interactivity. Since it is an interactive tool that is financially costly and variable, the main pioneer on the development is the automotive industry. Considerable financial research are invested in the area, and each car manufacturer comes with a number of different applications. We should know that the main disadvantage of augmented reality is it, and based on the redistribution, collection, and analysis of various types of data. The main areas in use the augmented reality in the automotive industry is repair and maintenance, business logistics, tourism, designing and modeling, retail, and sale. One slide before, we're speaking about areas when we use the augmented reality. The category which is interesting for us is the sale, and concretely a digital car showroom. If you decide to buy a new car today, you no longer need to visit and bring a motor car showroom to view the car. All you have to do is download the augmented reality application of your given brand to your smartphone. In year 218, the most world famous car brand Porsche released the Mission A augmented reality application, which you can download for free on your smartphone. The company creates this application mainly for the same of the new Porsche electronic vehicle. In Explore mode, you can create your own 3D design. In the next drive mode, you can try a test drive in augmented reality. Such type of cars demos primarily save cost and can provide interesting parties with everything they are looking for a given model. In the article, we focus often on three well-known car brands of different price category. The first focus of the brand of Porsche sport car, which belong a higher price category. Porsche cars stand out of their design combined with quality and powerful sports engine. We meet this brand of car quite rarely on the roads. The occurrence of this model is primarily in more development countries. In terms of price, this model ranges of high price, which means that the configuration using augmented reality helps to better imagine and satisfy every customer because the materials that are used in the construction reach astronomical price. In such a case, it is very financially demanding to assemble several models types in the order to be able to satisfy every customer. On the video, we can see the model Porsche car, which we can change the color, we can change the electrons, and we can move with this car. The next application is Toyota AR. Toyota cars are increasing a role in the automotive industry with this model. Their reliability and timeless and are often discussed. Toyota combines conventional gasoline or diesel engine with electronic ones. The choice of this option is in the larger and the company wants to show it to customer the maximum. In this application, we can see the car Toyota Yaris with three different colors and with too many different rims. This application is in the Slovak language. The last application is Lexus Augmented Reality app Lexus is one of the lesser known brands in our region, but in the Western Hemisphere they are very popular car that combine luxury with sport driving. The quality of this car is at a very high level, which is with this brand the chosen the biggest car enthusiasm. In this application is presented Lexus ES350. We can personalize this car, we can change the color, change the interior, we can explore the upgrade for body kit, and we can drive with 3D model in the real world. On this slide, we can see the comparison of our application. We can see too many different functions. One is the operation system, iOS, Android, view of all sides 360-degree, changing the vehicle color, electron selection, choice of engine, gear selection, test drive, engine sounds, turning off lights, opening the door, X-ray of the car, application language. We compare all these criteria, and we decide which application is the best. Conclusion. In the article, we point of three completely different types of application. From the analysis point of view, the application from Porsche to the first place. The application is easy to use. There is a sufficiently large selection of vehicles, and basic things related to configuration are available for free. A rich selection of electrons and a well-crafted graphic design. The Toyota Air application offers few configuration options. You can play the car in the space in real size, but the fundamental charges are not available for free, and you need to visit the store. The Lexus Air application offers only one model for the Slovak market. The availability of configuration option is wide, but specific modifications are only indicated and cannot be performed. Also, it has a weaker graphical visualization. The applications are suitable for a better idea of the vehicle and a real environment, but for a complete configuration, it is available necessary to visit an authorized dealer who can unlimited capability in the application. Thank you for your attention. If you have any question, please contact me by my email.
ladies and gentlemen. Today I am going to present the topic of digital well-being and satisfaction of university students with online education. Firstly, let's start with the introduction. Digital technologies are becoming more and more involved in our everyday lives. With digital requirements at the workplace, educational institutions have to adapt and implement the teaching of skills that were not even known just a few years ago. Digital literacy is a must-know for a young graduate that is looking for a job in the modern world. The development of digitalization in education is on the rise in the form of various e-learning programs and the use of artificial intelligence or virtual reality. Some universities have been providing online courses. These options also promote the accessibility of education as it is possible to connect to such course from anywhere in the world. The use of virtual reality may help in the practical training of various professions, such as pilots, by making the experience more realistic. However, the implementation of new technologies in education is a gradual process and takes time. Some countries progress faster than others. The pandemic forced all educational institutions to move towards increased learning of digital literacy, not only among their students but also employees. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about digital well-being, the education during pandemic, a comparison of several online platforms, and presenting a study focused on the satisfaction of students at the Faculty of Aeronautics of Technical University of Košice with online teaching. The perception of well-being can be viewed as subjective, and it generally focuses on three aspects of person's life: relationships, work, and health. In terms of digital well-being, the focus is centered on how digital technologies influence these three aspects. Nowadays, the well-being of humans is linked to the digital environment with which they come into contact. Generally, the presence of technology should improve the quality of life. There are numerous benefits that modern technology brings in the form of higher productivity or reduced social inequality, as more people have access to healthcare or various information. Conscious use of digital technologies for accessing quality information, communication, or entertainment assumes positive effects on individuals' lives. However, positive impacts are opposed to concerns about mental health of individuals, which may be attributed to the excessive use of technology in the form of depression, addiction. Up-to-date education has to reflect the needs of the workplace, which requires a new set of skills that were not present before in the form of digital literacy. The emergence of the pandemic was closely related to the integration of digital technologies into daily routines at a rapid rate. Individuals and society as a whole turned to digital technologies for shopping, seeking medical attention, socializing, attending school, or working. In just a few weeks, society changed its way of behaving, and probably it will not return to how it was previously. The pandemic gave a new dimension to the digitalization process. It also augmented the urgency to address and care for our digital well-being. During the pandemic, the possibilities for education were severely limited. The transformation to online education due to the pandemic deepened the digital divide that was already present. In reaction to the closing of educational institutions, the educational process continued via online means, which made vulnerable students even more disadvantaged. An American study revealed that in order to attain success in their studies, students need to have a good high-speed internet connection and a functional digital device, and also a strong human connection with the instructor of the course. In the spring of 2020, the first closure of universities was believed to be short and temporary in terms of a few weeks. This belief was reflected in the attitudes of the institutions and educators who did not immediately receive recommendations for online teaching. Closed schools for an extended period of time resulted in replacing some elements of practical work with videos, which unfortunately cannot be considered a sufficient substitute for learning skills through direct experience. The prevailing methods were of passive nature, in which the student is not in direct interaction with the educator, such as studying recommended literature, sharing of the presentation created by the educator, writing essays, and working with e-learning materials. In addition to passive methods, other issues arose in the form of missing communication, excessive workload, the use of different digital tools by individual educators, absence of assessment of submitted assignments, a large number of essays due in a short time interval, difficulties in gathering all necessary information as each educator updated information in a different place. After the first shock everyone experienced, the Student Council for Higher Education in Slovakia provided some recommendations, together with the European Union, on how to maintain the quality of education as high as possible. The report recommends higher integration of interactive methods in the forms of video conferences or at least presentations with audio commentary of the educator. The beginning of online teaching was missing guidelines and technological preparedness of educational institutions, which the educators had to properly cope with. Firstly, they employed various passive forms of online teaching, while recommendations state that a more interactive approach should be used. One of the interactive forms of online teaching is done through the use of online platforms that provide support for video conferences, messaging, and other forms of sharing information. In Table 1, we can see a comparative analysis of 3 platforms and the ways of holding a conference they provide. In the left column, different features of these platforms were compared. The feature of personal room is viewed as very useful, as it is a universal link that can be used repeatedly with numerous participants. Therefore, it may seem like a disadvantage that MS Teams and WebEx training do not provide such a function. Creating specific groups of students that attend the same class each week seems practical from the long-term perspective. This feature is accessible on all platforms, but it is not used when conducting video conferences through the personal room. All ways of conducting video conferences allow for a chat during the call, and WebEx meetings through Spaces and MS Teams provide the access to the history of the chat at all times. This feature can be considered significant for students who can access the information and files that were shared during the class later, for example, when they are going to study for the test. Storage of documents or other shared files, such as presentations or notes, seems very useful to the students. WebEx Personal Link does not accommodate such function, meaning that the files can be sent during the call into the chat, which does not have to be accessible after the end of the call, or through email or another platform, which makes managing classes slightly complicated. WebEx meetings with Spaces and MS Teams provide the possibility of always accessible sharing of files. The feature of assignments is accessible only through MS Teams, in the educational version of the platform. It allows the educator to give feedback to students and to keep track of the turned-in assignments. Testing in online teaching is crucial. However, it is provided only by 2 platforms, MS Teams and WebEx Training. The advantage of WebEx Training is the possibility to form tests, but at the same time, it does not have the functionalities which are featured by Spaces in WebEx meetings or Teams in MS Teams. However, it gives the possibility to create recurrent training sessions. For educational purposes, MS Teams might be viewed as the best option, thanks to the test assignment and grade system. Whereas WebEx meetings might seem as a great tool for bigger conferences or meetings, which could be done through WebEx meetings personal room. When the host does not know the specific number and email addresses of participants, it would be very advantageous to provide the participants only with the link to the host's personal room. When teaching a class with the same set of students every week in WebEx meetings, it would be more convenient to create a space with them, while conducting the test could be done either by WebEx Training or on some other platform such as Moodle. The aim of the performed study was to assess the situation of online teaching at the Faculty of Aeronautics of Technical University of Košice and to find out to which extent are the students satisfied with such teaching and compare the results with the study conducted in March 2020 by the Technical University of Košice. The goal is to determine whether the students are content with the platform that is used the most in their classes and whether they would prefer if all their classes were done through the same platform. The first stage was problem identification. Here we explored concepts of online teaching, existing platforms, and previous studies. The next stage was data collection, which consisted of creation of a questionnaire that was distributed to the students through email addresses. The questionnaire was composed of 3 parts. The first was dedicated to the gathering of demographical information, the second to the type of online teaching and the use of the most common platform, and the last section was addressing the satisfaction of students with the type of online teaching. We received responses from 53 students during the period from 3rd November to 2nd December 2021. Stage 3 represents the interpretation of the results and comparing the findings with the 2020 study. Lastly, stage 4 is composed of linking the findings in a broader spectrum, providing output for further research and practice. According to Figure 1, we can see that 83% of students responded that video conference is the most common method of online teaching, and it is used in more than 75% of classes. This is a considerable increase in comparison to the 2020 survey done by Technical University of Košice, where the option that conferences are used in more than 75% of classes was chosen only by 7% of students. According to our study, the types of online teaching shifted from passive methods to active methods that are more interactive and feature interaction between the educator and the student. The results showed that the most used platform was WebEx meetings. The video conferences conducted through a link to the personal room of the educator are used 88% of the time, and video conferences through Spaces only in 9%. Only 1 student responded that WebEx Training or MS Teams is the most common platform for video conferences in their study program. Even though MS Teams was marked as the most used platform only by 2% of students, it is the preferred platform of 34% of students, which shows a quite remarkable disproportion. Some students mentioned that their preference was based on which platform they used for the first time. Some students were firstly introduced to MS Teams and some to WebEx meetings, either at their high school or university. Figure 2 demonstrates inconsistency in the use of online teaching platforms by educators. It reveals that online education is performed on 2 and more platforms in 77% of cases, while only 23% of students have all their classes on one platform, which is WebEx meetings. Even though most of the students have to operate on more than one platform in attending their classes, the majority of them do not seem to mind this inconsistency, which may be caused by the insufficient guidelines from university. However, 37% would prefer to have classes on one platform, and 21% of students do not want to have all their classes on just one platform. Considering the attitude of students towards keeping the online teaching methods employed even after the end of the pandemic was ambiguous, as approximately half of the respondents would like to continue with some form of online learning and approximately half would not. According to these results, we can conclude that some aspects of online teaching could be preserved in the future, for example in the case of external study. The next 3 slides are going to evaluate whether students at the Faculty of Aeronautics were more satisfied with online teaching in 2021 than students from all faculties of Technical University of Košice in 2020. Firstly, in Figure 3, we are comparing the responses to the first question, if students have enough information from the university to manage online teaching. The overall provision of information by the university is better. Now, 34% agree that they have enough information, compared to only 18% in 2020. Less students mark the middle option of neither agree nor disagree, meaning that they could have more time to evaluate all accessible options of gaining information. Secondly, Figure 4 features the question about the satisfaction with online teaching at their study program. In the present survey, 30% of students agree and 34% partially agree that they are satisfied with the way how online teaching is performed in their study program, as opposed to the 2020 survey, where only 18% of students agreed and 23% partially agreed with the statement. We can also observe a decline in the percentage of students who partially disagree with the statement, while the percentage of dissatisfied students is kept intact. It is possible to attribute this improvement to the extended use of interactive online teaching methods, such as video conferences. Over time, the communication between students and educators could have also improved. However, students in the current survey mentioned that the communication should improve even more. Thirdly, in Figure 5, we can see the answers to the third question, evaluating the view of students whether online teaching can fully replace the face-to-face form of teaching. This figure demonstrates that there is a higher percentage of students who disagree, probably because after spending almost a year and a half using mostly online teaching, they can better understand which parts of face-to-face teaching are missing in the online form. There is also an increase in the percentage expressing the option of neither agree nor disagree, which can signify that some of the issues occurring in online teaching before were limited with further use, or on the other hand, some other issues rose that forbid them from deciding. To conclude, the majority of students would not want to continue with online teaching after the end of the COVID-19 pandemic. To conclude, nowadays digital technology surrounds us everywhere, even in the educational process. The balance between living life with and without digital technology, known as digital well-being, is a concept that is gaining importance. With the arrival of the pandemic COVID-19, the digital well-being of many people was threatened, as the restrictions promoted social distancing, causing many institutions, including educational institutions, to close their gates and switch to communication online. This study concludes that students at the Faculty of Aeronautics were more satisfied with online teaching in 2021 than all students from all faculties of the Technical University of Košice in 2020. This could be promoted by the increased use of interactive methods of online teaching, such as video conferences, which are the most used method. The platforms used for such way of teaching are compared, and it seems that MS Teams is more adapted to the needs of online teaching due to the assignment, test, and grading system which it provides, as opposed to WebEx meetings, which is more used at Faculty of Aeronautics. Further studies could focus on progressive ways of maintaining the digital well-being of students and educators during the online teaching process, which will likely become one of the offered methods of studying at the university. Thank you for your attention.
Hello everybody, my name is Romana Hricová and I am from Technical University of Košice. My contribution is about digitization, personalization and automation of business processes. Today's businesses face several challenges. For example, businesses have too much information. There are changes in communication between the company and its customer. Also, more demanding customers there are than several years ago, and the competition is much closer. It literally only takes a few clicks on the computer for the customer to find another business or shop. The old ways are unattractive, but also financially demanding and do not bring the desired effects. Today's businesses are trying to take advantage of the available options, and the result is that they have a lot of information in different places. For example, part of the data is in the databases, part in paper form, part on social networks, and part only in the heads of workers. All this makes difficulties not only to search for the necessary information, but mainly slows down the company when communicating with the customer. Digital marketing has an impact on improving business performance, but there is also a negative impact of adopting digital marketing on improving marketing performance. It is important to realize that before investing money in digital marketing tools and their application, enterprise management should create a business culture emphasizing the strategy importance of digital marketing, carefully plan digital marketing activities, and develop an adequate digital marketing analysis system. In the digital age, organizations should think about advanced strategies to increase their competitiveness and market share by harnessing the potential of digital content and improving their digital capabilities. Recently, there have been many digital media available to organizations to build their brand, reach and retain their target customers, and promote their products. The consumer behavior in the market is changing. The COVID-19 pandemic has forced people to change their shopping habits. For example, Slovaks buy almost everything in the internet, and the pandemic has extremely accelerated this trend. Some experts claim that we even jumped 7 years ahead during it. Already today, the share of consumers in the European Union who buy goods or services via internet is more than 60%. For example, it is stated that since 2004, when it was only 21%, in 10 years, this share increased almost 2.5 times to 50%. The pandemic literally shot some segments to astronomical growth. For example, goods as cosmetics, automotive, sporting goods, and home and garden. The Association of Intelligent Industry conducted the fourth annual survey on the level of digital transformation in industrial enterprises during the August and September 2020. Compared to 2019, the survey revealed stagnation in the digitization of industrial enterprises. The results of the survey were also influenced by the unprecedented situation associated with the COVID-19 pandemic. For example, one of the questions of the survey was, do you think that your company would be better prepared for the changes caused by the corona crisis if your processes were digitalized and automated? Only 18% say no and 1% say I don't know, and others say yes, partially, or the necessary analyses are not available. Managers and marketers always appropriate the endless flow of fresh information about customers, which they then use to improve their products and services. Continuous process improvement in marketing automation is essential. Of course, marketing automation is not a tool that will immediately bring an increase in sales, but it should be a careful part of a comprehensive marketing strategy. Businesses need to realize that the general fact remains that it is easier to keep a customer than to find a new one. In addition, a satisfied customer will actually advertise the company for free because he is happy to share his good experience, for example, between friends. So remains for the company to build a relationship with the customer based on respect and loyalty. Automation has 3 steps. First one is to know the customer. The second is customized content, and the third is proper communication. The first step means to know customer perfectly, that all the available information should company put in one place. The second step, the message content created tailoring for the specific customer. And the third step is to find the right communication with every customer, as every customer is different, has different demand, and there are different ways how to satisfy him. Automation has so many benefits. For example, time saving, increase of revenue, customer retention, monitoring and tracking of marketing campaigns, shortened sales cycle, direct interaction with the customer, and also efficiency of costs, better profit in total, and many others. So it means that companies should use automations as it brings too many benefits for them. Once a business knows what to expect from automation, personalization follows. The job of personalization is to find out what the customer wants. The best option for personalization is the marketer should observe how the customer actually behaves and draw conclusions from it. Up to 81% of customers want businesses to get to know them better. 75% of consumers expect personalized communication from businesses, and 78% of internet users said that relevant personalized comment increased their interest in buying. So, here is necessary for the marketer to answer the following questions. Do I personalize email marketing? If so, how much time I will spend preparing it? How many websites visitors will I convert into real customers? Can I identify how many customers leave the cart without completing the order? Do I somehow work with customers who abandon the cart without ordering? Do I track open rate and click-through rate from the newsletter to mailing? Would personalization improve open rate and click-through rate values? Do I reactivate those customers who leave the site without any action? And do I do personalized upsell and cross-sell? It's important to know that all these actions can be automated. The business centralizes all available information about its customer and also about the outgoing interaction between the business and the customer. With automation, it is advisable for businesses to operate in CRM, customer relationship management system. If business is already operated in a CRM system, it's much easier to use automation. The task is, on the one hand, to support the repeat order of already existing customers, and on the other hand, to establish a relationship with new customers. It should take place in the following steps. Step 1 is creation of dynamic personalized content. As was mentioned before, every customer is different, so also the content should be personalized to everyone. Step 2 is analysis of the campaign spam score. Step 3 is test mailing to a test list of recipients. Step 4 is verification of results. Step 5 is obtaining information from the distribution of test reports. And last step is feedback from recipients. Reaching the right customer at the right time is the desire of many companies. No one wants to invest expenses whose return is not guaranteed. So, digitization makes possible to put all information about customers in one place, where they can be personalized and create specific content for a specific customer. Targeting has many benefits, from making the customer feel special to controlling marketing spends, where the business knows exactly how much it is investing and what the response is. The better the company knows its customers and potential customers, the better it has an idea of their needs and can send them targeting advertising and thus increase sales success. On the other hand, the increase in automation and digitations also brings with the need for an increased emphasis on cybersecurity. It is therefore necessary to continue to focus on this area, to look for opportunities to expand digitization both in businesses and among residents, and to create safe, efficient, and above all, sustainable options. Thank you for your attention and have a nice day.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Martina Koszczakova. I'm a PhD student at Faculty of Aeronautics of Technical University of Košice, and I'm going to present our paper on possibilities and challenges for the sustainable development of air transport. Air transport is among the fastest growing segments of the transportation industry, with considerable effects on the environment. Therefore, sustainability issues have become one of the key topics for both aircraft and airport operations. In our paper, we analyze sustainable business practices that will possibly shape the future of the industry, focus on the most relevant sustainable measures currently in use, and determine key sustainable trends in aviation.
The emissions have been rising since 2014 despite innovations and more rules being put in place. Despite the COVID-19 pandemics, recent projections indicate that demand for air travel will increase over the next 20 years at a rate between 2.4 and 4.1% per year. The relevance of sustainability in aviation has significantly increased during the past several years. On the regulatory front, governing organizations at the national and international levels have increased their push to cut carbon emissions. For instance, the EU joined the voluntary carbon offsetting and reduction scheme for international aviation, which was started by ICAO to achieve the objective of attaining net zero emissions by 2050. On the consumer side, the increased number of travelers are feeling compelled by the flight shame social phenomena to reduce their carbon footprint or use more ecologically friendly forms of transportation. Additionally, airlines and their major business partners are cooperating to investigate and create strategies to lessen the environmental effect of this sector. Companies are choosing to become sustainable as a result of demand from the outside world, which is transforming the business climate. Business activities have an impact on the environment and vice versa, hence the impact of climate change should be considered while building a business strategy. Companies are under pressure to implement strategies that would help them position themselves as ecologically friendly. The best ways to become more sustainable vary based on a variety of circumstances. Many companies are integrating sustainability into their everyday operations. There are various strategies to improve sustainability, and the choice of strategy is entirely up to the business. Some companies begin with modest initiatives, such as waste management or investing in environmentally friendly fuel sources. Other companies select more expensive choices to get long-term economic and environmental advantages. Increased levels of scientific and technical innovations lead to improvements in the industry's overall safety, management effectiveness, cost management, and service standards, which boost core competitiveness. Therefore, a variety of initiatives are required to encourage innovations in the field of green aviation. The use of aircraft with high fuel saving performance and low noise, the elimination of aircraft with high fuel consumption, the bolstering of the development of advanced energy saving technologies, improving fuel efficiency, reducing environmental pollution, and paying close attention to climate change are just few ways airlines can work to lessen the environmental effects of aviation. Generally, there have been 25 main sustainable innovations, technologies, and practices identified by the Royal Aeronautical Society of the UK that are seen as possible solutions for the aviation sector, and they can be sorted into four main categories: energy carrier, technology or design innovations, materials, and operations. Organizational activities concentrate on reducing emissions by providing CO2 compensation schemes, assisting forestry efforts, or buying CO2 certificates. Advocates for this approach contend that organizational efforts are the simplest and least expensive to execute of all possible decarbonization strategies. This claim is supported by the unavailability of aircraft technology that produces no emissions, as well as the expensive and limited availability of sustainable aviation fuels. There is a wide range of compensation systems available, with just a few airlines willingly purchasing CO2 certificates. Sustainability and policy is essential for luring long-term investment. Economic issues and expenses are directly related to the function of government policy, indicating that government policy is required to secure capital to enable industrial scale-up. Moreover, there is a goal of reducing travel volume and decreasing the number of travelers. Institutional factors, both formally through government-led regulations and informally through normative social implications, constrain individual travel behavior. Aviation ticket taxes are one typical regulatory measure intended to restrict the amount of travel. After the epidemic, respondents predicted changes in their future air travel, especially for business visits. 27% of business travelers anticipated a reduction in air travel, in part because of a greater dependence on digital communication. Moreover, flight shame has come to be recognized as a phenomenon linked to a decrease in the number of passengers. People's decisions to cease flying are most influenced by their understanding of how flying affects the environment. Sustainable aviation fuels are produced using sustainable raw materials and renewable energy rather than fossil petroleum. The ability to cut CO2 emissions by up to 80% is the primary benefit of sustainable fuels over fossil fuels. They may be blended with regular kerosene, therefore they don't call for significant modifications to the infrastructure. There are essentially three generations. First are made from plants including canola, sugarcane, corn, soybean, and palm oil. These fuels may interfere with food production, which limits the sustainability and scalability of biofuels. To overcome this, the second generation employs waste products such as cooking oil, municipal garbage, and water plants. They are not suited for the mass market because of land use dispute and a lack of supply. There are attempts to overcome these challenges through third generation, which through the so-called power-to-liquid and power-to-gas processes, renewable energy produced by the use of wind, water, and solar power plants is utilized to collect water and CO2 from the atmosphere to manufacture synthetic kerosene. Moreover, it is recognized that using hydrogen as a fuel may propel an airplane either directly through a hydrogen combustion engine or by converting it to energy in a fuel cell that powers an electric motor. Contrary to sustainable aviation fuels, the use of hydrogen fuels necessitates modifications to the design of aircraft and engines, as well as creation of supporting infrastructure for the production, storage, and transportation of hydrogen. The infrastructural and technological problems also apply to an electric aircraft. When it comes to technological innovations, all modifications to aircraft's hardware, whether they increase aerodynamic efficiency, reduce weight, or use an alternative environmentally friendly power systems, fall under this category. Modernizing the fleet is the most popular strategy used by airlines to boost sustainability. The goal is to increase propulsion efficiency, to lower fuel consumption and noise levels. Aerodynamics is crucial for meeting environmental standards, advancing aircraft upgrades, and enhancing aircraft performance and economy. Advanced materials are used to reduce aircraft weight, which in turn helps to reduce fuel consumption and engine emissions to some extent. These advancements are made in addition to propulsion system optimization on overall aerodynamic efficiency. Last but not least, the adoption of various IT solutions helps to enhance green manufacturing. The use of these tools in operation and process management facilitates information exchange and decision making between suppliers, manufacturers, retailers, and customers. Fuel consumption and greenhouse gas emissions may be reduced right away by increasing engine performance and combustion efficiency, but reduced fuel consumption may also be achieved by increasing cabin density or load factor. Moreover, greater efficiency in aircraft routing may also lead to fuel savings and so benefit green initiatives. One of the most important challenges needed in operations is the elimination of ATM inefficiencies, which result in dog-leg routes, stacking at congested airports, waiting in line for a departure time while engines are operating, and so on. It is widely recognized that close formation flying may be used to increase range and decrease fuel consumption. The planes may take off from various airports and fly in formation over great distances before separating to land at certain locations. Tailored arrival system can too help to minimize fuel consumption, lessen controller strain, and improve scheduling and passenger connections. Through the years, the flight management system has gone through numerous phases as a crucial technological advancement that may decrease fuel consumption and flight intervals, improve airspace operating capability, guarantee flight safety and quality, and lessen pilot burden. The efficiency of international initiatives for the reduction of environmental impacts of air transport is in doubt. Most compensation organizations primarily concentrate on the greenhouse gas emissions released by the flight and ignore other aspects. As to the barriers to implementation of sustainable energy carriers, the most common reason cited for the not commercializing sustainable aviation fuels manufacturing business is cost, and these costs are directly related to ensuing problems with logistics and quality control. Another reason for concern is safety. Sustainable fuels have several dependency problems, especially in difficult circumstances. This fuel safety has not been established. Moreover, environmental concerns associated with the location of sustainable aviation fuels manufacturing industry are considered a significant hurdle. Most people enjoy the concept of sustainable fuels but are not keen on having a refinery in their neighborhood because of the transportation costs and the conflict with agricultural activities. Other issues related to the implementation of sustainable fuels are capital accessibility, biofuel accessibility, and forest control. While hydrogen is a far more environmentally friendly alternative to traditional kerosene, there are several drawbacks to its use. First off, hydrogen cannot be produced on a large scale and requires a lot of energy. In addition, hydrogen needs to be kept at extremely low temperatures and high pressures, unlike kerosene. Last but not least, airlines need to invest in whole new aircraft fleet because their present fleets cannot run on hydrogen. Other significant barriers include high production costs, a lack of fuel infrastructure, and operating processes at airports. Public adoption of hydrogen-powered aircraft may also be hampered by a lack of general understanding regarding the safety of hydrogen propulsion technology. In the field of electric aircrafts, the employment of current batteries is restricted to smaller aircrafts flying regional routes since they are currently too big and heavy to be deployed for long-haul flights. When we look at the barriers to the technology transfer in terms of sustainable aviation, this entails the transfer of cleaner aviation infrastructure and technology from nations where they are easily accessible for use to others where they are not. Action plans must be developed with the active participation and the involvement of key aviation stakeholders, including airline executives, airport management authorities, air navigation service providers, airport and air traffic navigation staff, fuel suppliers, and aircraft manufacturers to be thorough and inclusive. Governmental ministries, organizations, and departments involved in technology transfer must be coordinated, and countries may simplify their technology transfer procedures. The mere importation or availability of new technology is insufficient. Without the necessary human capability, such facilities may go unused or may not be used to their full potential. Government must consequently prioritize determining training requirements of regulators, airport management organizations, and airport employees, and then work to supply them with sufficient and current information in key areas. The main obstacle to sustainable transformation at airports is the absence of recent legislative amendments and the growing need for new legislation since existing laws are frequently illogical, out of date, and slow to adapt to broader social, economic, and environmental developments. Second, there is a lack of training since many top management members do not have deeper knowledge about sustainability challenges. Without prior information, experience, or training about the notion, many airport operators find it challenging to comprehend the essence of green solutions. Another issue is that due to high construction costs and expensive certification fees, only a small number of airports focus on noise management and sustainable materials. Even though the noise is considered to be the main environmental concern surrounding airports, measurements for its mitigation are among the least popular owing to the complexity of the issues. And now some more to what needs to be done in terms of sustainable development of aviation. As sustainable aviation fuels were identified as the most viable means of cutting CO2 emissions from the aviation sector, it is important to focus more attention on their implementation into use. First of all, as private investments in sustainable fuels production are seen as highly risky, it is evident that governmental inputs are essential. Moreover, national governments would be expected to step in for the support of new experimental refineries as well as help to make the components along the supply chain more affordable. Secondly, it is important to implement such regulations that would encourage the use of sustainable fuels through several measures, such as various incentives, pricing, and subsidies, to make them more competitive on the market and compensate for and reduce the potential risks related to their initial use. It is essential to reduce the enormous price difference between sustainable aviation fuels and conventional fuels. Additionally, it is advisable to introduce some kind of international blending quota that would require certain shares of sustainable fuels in aviation fuels. Concerning the promotion of sustainable technologies, it is important to speed up the transformation process of development patterns and focus on the development of new advanced commercial aircraft that would comply with sustainability criteria. At the same time, the focus should be put on energy conservation projects and the sustainability of constructions. On the operational level, higher efficiency can be achieved through the wider use of artificial intelligence, which could help to optimize fuel consumption by evaluating of historical flight data and effective flight routing. At the same time, artificial intelligence could be used to optimize maintenance practices for aircraft components. Among other recommendations, we can include support of research of possibilities of electric and hydrogen aircraft and encouragement of integrated transport systems so that short regional flights could be eliminated. We can conclude that most of the attention concerning environmental issues related to air travel is revolving around greenhouse gas emissions, partly ignoring other challenges. At the same time, the focus of green solutions in aviation is on the wider usage of sustainable aviation fuels, which could bring the most significant cuts in emissions from the aviation sector. It is important to focus on sustainable development in all the spheres of the aviation industry and aim for a coordinated international approach. Thank you for your attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was my pleasure to meet you at our 9th EAI International Conference on Mobility, IoT and Smart Cities 2022. Our ambition was to establish communication channels and disseminate knowledge among professionals in mobility, IoT and smart city sectors and related educational institutions. The future cooperation will be successful and stimulating as indicated by the contribution presented at this conference. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the best paper is Utilization of Jakarta Kini application to support smart economy implementation in DKA Jakarta from the authors Rifki Majid and Rini Rahmawati from University Gadjah Mada, Jakarta, Indonesia. Congratulations! In conclusion, I would like to invite you to participate in our anniversary, the 10th EAI International Conference on Mobility, IoT and Smart Cities 2023, which will be held in the High Tatras in the Slovak Republic from 6 till 8 December 2023. See you all, and I wish you all the best.